Chris Stevenson and Rob Longley, the QMI agency here in Boston, where we took in Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final, and it was a wild one. It was one of the best games of the playoffs, 11 goals scored. The third game in this Stanley Cup Final to go to overtime ended by a Brent Seabrook slap shot in the first overtime, and I don't know where you want to start picking something out of this game, because there were a lot of storylines, a lot of developments that you can choose from.
Yeah, tons of things. First off, of course, the series is now tied at 2 games apiece. The Blackhawks have home ice advantage back for Saturday's Game 5 in their barn, and you know, it was well deserved. But I think what you and I talked about it during the second period, we're not sure if we saw as entertaining a stretch of hockey these playoffs. There were 5 goals. It was end to end. It was a lot of big hitting, because these guys are laying it all on the line. Yeah. It sounds like a cliche, but when you get to this point in the Stanley Cup playoffs, they're giving everything they've got, and it was
Bruins coming back from a couple of 2-goal deficits. Twice. You know, one of the storylines certainly moving forward now, it's tied. Corey Crawford, Chicago Blackhawks goaltender, beaten time and time again in these playoffs and in this final to the glove side. And it's going to be interesting Saturday. I don't know what they can do in the 2 days between now and then to maybe try and build up his confidence. I don't know what they do in practice. You suggested maybe just shooting on the blocker side. Yeah. Maybe shoot beach balls at his glove hand to give him some confidence. But what do you take out of that? Well,
I think all 5 goals were glove side, and I mean, to me there was only one that was a real bullet, and that was the Johnny Boychuk shot from the point that maybe most goalies in the league wouldn't have had. But you know, they're definitely targeting that glove. They've been doing it all series, and he's been weak at it. He's missed it. He waved at a couple tonight that just got by him. You and I were joking, and I think in the second intermission we were saying, you know, Steve Yzerman was here for the general manager meetings, and he was watching the game tonight. Well, if he's scouting goalies for Sochi, I think he probably would have big X through that guy's name tonight.
He doesn't have much in the way of candidates right now.
No.
The list is pretty short, and it seems to be drawing even shorter. Big development. You know, Joel Kenville was getting a little bit of heat. You know, the Hawks had dropped 2 games in a row. People wondering about changes that he should make. Tonight he reunites Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane, who had done really well for the Hawks in the series against the Los Angeles Kings in the Western Conference Final, but he had split them up, you know, not wanting both of them to go up against Zdeno Chara, the Bruins, and they reunite tonight and come through. Each of them gets a goal. Yeah, it was interesting. They found a way to get at least one of them away from Chara by times, and Chara was on the ice, I think you said, for 3 of their goals. There was a -3. He was on -3 for the night, and on for 5 of the 6 goals against.
Yeah, and I wonder if we head back to Chicago now, and Toews and Kane, obviously the emotional leaders of this team in a lot of ways. The fact that they finally got themselves on the score sheet with big goals, if now they play with a whole bunch of confidence at the United Center in their own building with their own fans behind them. And that may just be what pushes the series over the edge back in their favor. It's going to be very interesting to see. I thought another big development, 5-on-3 had expired, but the Hawks finally wind up getting a power play goal. So, you know, I think that's another thing that they can kind of tuck away for themselves, that here's another reason that we can have some confidence going into Game 5 on Saturday night. Yeah, and remember, they're a team that doesn't really get too down on themselves. They were in a 3-1 hole to Detroit earlier in the playoffs. And they didn't play like a team lacking in confidence tonight in the first 10 minutes. They came out in a tough building to play in, and they carried the flow of the game right from the start. And I think that, you know, that speaks to the confidence that they play with, and they expect a battle from the Bruins, but they're not going to back off from it, I don't believe. 2 days off now before the game on Saturday. You can follow all the developments in both camps. Rob's staying here in Boston to cover the Bruins for an extra day. I'm off to Chicago to pick up the Hawks on Thursday. So stay tuned to all the Sun websites for all the information you need to be on top of what's turning out to be a really interesting and exciting Stanley Cup Final. In Boston for Rob Longley, I'm Chris Stevenson for the QMI Agency.